If you've ever looked at Claude Code and thought, that's a developer tool, that's not for me, this is the one to watch. This is a full course on using Claude Code as a sales and marketing tool. And if you're not technical, this one is especially for you. Here's the gap that I see all the time. Technical people can plug straight into Claude Code, they know how to drive it, but a lot of them are missing the sales and marketing side. Maybe you built a genuinely great product and now you're stuck actually trying to go to market. Then there's the other side of it. Maybe you're not technical at all. You know sales? That's not the problem. The problem is knowing which pieces to put together to deploy real campaigns and real outbound systems. This course closes both of those gaps. This applies to more than just Claude Code. If you're using any other harness, Codex, Cursor, everything in here applies to you as well. This is going to be a long one because it's going to be valuable. So make sure you watch to the end so you don't miss a single step. Let's go ahead and dive in. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is go to Claude Documents, which is code.claude.com, and you'll want to briefly skim over, at least get familiar with the tool itself, because things always change as you know it. With AI, this could change tomorrow, could change in a month. It's definitely going to change further from there. So the biggest thing you're going to want to do, just get a good overview on how you actually want to use Claude Code, since there are a number of ways you can actually use it. There's a few things like terminal, which is your good old terminal of where it all started, essentially. So you can use the terminal if that's what you prefer. We also have an IDE called VS Code or Cursor, which is one of my favorite, and we'll introduce it for this use case. Then we have the desktop app, which is just right here. So we'll be able to go into chat, co-work, and then code. But generally speaking, this is on the cloud, not so much on your hard drive, although there is co-work and you could work off your hard drive. But for this case, I would definitely recommend going to Cursor, which I'll demonstrate here in a second. So those are the main things. There's also the web interface as well, but again, that is for more cloud building, if you will. And we're just going to go ahead and get set up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just open up a new Cursor instance here. And so again, Cursor is one of the environments in which I prefer. There's a difference between your harness on what you use, which is your typical environment, and then using Claude as the harness, which I'm going to demonstrate here. For this case, we're just going to go ahead and open up a project, and then you can literally pick any spot on your hard drive. I would recommend you start with a hierarchy of like a root folder, like the most senior ones, such as the name of your business. And then you're just going to go ahead and create folders within that. So we're going to go ahead and call this Claude demo. And we're going to go ahead and create a new folder there. Then we're going to hit open. And this is going to be our new working directory where we have no files, no context, no capabilities, and we're going to work from here. So you'll notice here that there are this marketplace right here, this little button. And what you're going to want to do is just type in Claude. And you're going to want to look at the official one, right, from Anthropic. And then you're simply just going to want to go ahead and install Claude Code for VS Code. And then you'll notice there's actually the two ones that are pinned right here. And they have both different features. But essentially, this one right here allows us to do multiple agents. So if I were to do new session, and you can see here that I have a bunch of tabs that just keep populating. This other one here, again, as of this version, is really just the side pane here. So it covers just your left one. So we're going to go ahead and revert back to our files and folders. You'll see here, as of this recording, Fable 5 is back. So that's great. Awesome stuff. You're going to want to get familiar with your harness here, which is Claude Code, right? So if you hit /, you're going to see we have a number of different features here in which we can attach a file, we can mention a file, we can clear conversation, we can rewind, although I don't use that a whole lot. You definitely want to use this if the more fine-tuned you get. We're going to leave it on default for now, but you can easily see that we have the list of available models with this. And so we're just going to go ahead and go back to the default for save it for another time. We have reasoning, which is effort. So we usually just want to leave this on default, which is recommended, although you can take it all the way up to extra effort, which again is for mostly like coding and if you want to get super detailed on all that stuff. But honestly, for our use case, you're going to be way good here. We have thinking, which is on and off. I just leave that off for now. Switch models when a message is flagged. I mean, we could use that. And then of course you have your account and usage, so you can track whenever Anthropic says, hey, go take a break, right? The first thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to provide context. So if we switch over back to our Chrome instance here, we have the documents K, so it provides all sorts of things on how to actually use it. We have quick start, which I showed you how to do it. We have the good old change log. So again, things can change on a lot of things. We have the core concepts of how Claude Code actually works. So with a lot of things, you're using a Claude when it comes to skills, tools, it's actually going to be doing things, right? So if you start off as just using your prompt, whatever you prompt is going to go through and it's going to pull in context, it's going to tokenize, and it's going to basically go into a loop right here, right? It's going to understand, okay, cool, I understand you want to do this. It's going to basically think or reason or do whatever before it actually gets back to you if you're using the right model. It's going to take action, it's going to verify results, and then it's go back to you. From here, this is where we'll get into more loops, but effectively what you're doing here is you're actually steering it to make sure it's staying on course, right? And then once it's done, it actually goes back to you. So the other part you're going to want to get familiar with is the skills. So we have agent skills, which a lot of them, like Codex and Anthropic and Grok and all of the major ones, they actually adopted this. So they have agents.md, so it's a little different than Claude.md, but you'll definitely want to get familiar here when it comes to skills, because this is such an unlock and you have no idea how great this is. So how skills work, what it'll do is it'll automatically start creating markdown files, and all of these markdown files is going to be everything as it relates to that particular skill. Could be cold email, could be marketing, could be competitive research, could be branding, could be literally any skill, right? Think about the skills that you have. You're basically transferring that into a markdown file where context is immediately fed. And what the models are doing is understanding the role, their persona, and knowing, okay, this is what I need to do, and this is how I'm going to do it in a way that is valuable to you. Having skills here is really going to define the persona to know exactly how you want to do it and how it should be done. So what we're going to do is we're actually just going to copy this just to make sure it knows, and we're just going to paste here. We're going to hit Shift Return so I can do a new line, even though it really doesn't matter. And then before we get into anything, you'll notice here we have modes, right? I like to go ahead and leave it in auto mode just for this purpose. But a lot of times what I'll actually do is just go bypass permissions. But if you're new to this, let's leave it on auto mode unless you really want to get crazy and do bypass permissions. I like to live on the dangerous side. But then again, the more comfortable you get with prompting, it goes full autonomous and will produce results. And whether that's valuable and accurate, that's up to you, right? So from here, I am going to be using a speech to text model called Parakeet, and I'm using an app called Spokenly. This is my preferred speech to text app, but I definitely recommend always talking to your agents, because just from brain to mouth is a lot faster than brain to fingers, if you know what I mean. But we're going to start from complete scratch, so that way you can follow along and actually build it for yourself. This is a brand new project in which we are looking to set up a go-to-market strategy revolving around all things marketing. First thing in marketing that we're going to do is revolving around cold email. Cold email, as you know, is the ability to reach out in B2B with the impression and hope to generate new pipeline and opportunities for offering actual value to a particular business that can benefit from the value that is offered. In this context, what I want you to do is to build skills that I have generated, and I want you to be able to make sure that the skills that are actually written are reflective on best practices on how we actually make good cold email. We're talking things like how long the email should be, which should be ideally anywhere from 75 to no more than 100 words. The shorter, the better, but ideally we want to make it in such a way that somebody can easily read it on their phone in a matter of 3 to maybe 7 seconds and immediately know exactly what they're looking at and what action they want to take. These emails also should be in plain text and never should be in HTML. It should never have open rates enabled, and it should always be easily read on a mobile device. Each sentence, or each paragraph rather, should be no more than 2 sentences without a new line break or new paragraph break in order to make sure that they are properly rendered with good formatting. So what I want you to do is to generate skills on good copywriting, which I will provide to you here in a moment. But focusing on deliverability, the biggest thing with cold email is that we are sending low volume across multiple inboxes. So the number of inboxes dictate the actual volume that we're able to do, in which we will have multiple inboxes that can sustain volume with good deliverability and longevity. And we are going to use a tool called instantly.ai. The CLI tool that I will provide to you is what you shall use in order to create, analyze, and ship or deploy campaigns. But you should never actually hit send or launch a campaign without my verification first, in order to make sure it is good quality and a good sample set, in order to make sure that things are formatted correctly. All right. And then lastly, we're going to get into copywriting here in a second. So what I want you to do is to create the cold email best practices when it comes to optimized deliverability, optimized messaging. The next skill that I will provide to you is in regards to what good copywriting is as it relates to what is relevant for 2026 and beyond. All right, so from here, again, it's going to receive the prompt. It's going to, it's thinking, it's going to tokenize. And then what you're going to do here is you're going to start to see .claude folder, which is going to create. And then we're going to start to see some markdown files that literally are generated. And then before we actually put them into practice, because the models are going to start reading it, we need to review that first. Make sure that it's good quality. All right, so we have our first human in the loop prompt. It needs to verify some things here. It says the docs confirm the format. Before I write files, 2 decisions materially change what I build. Let me lock them down. So structure. How do you want the skills to be structured? 3 focus skills recommended. We split into cold email deliverability, inbox volume warmup, plus instantly.ai sending discipline, cold email messaging, format rules, cool, call to action, cold email copywriting, okay, that's perfect. Then we have 2 skills as you framed it, 1 comprehensive skills. So yeah, we're going to split into 3 different skills, and then we'll optimize that as we revise it. And then for 2026 copywriting skill, you mentioned providing content. Draft now or wait? Strongest draft now, scaffold, wait for your content. I'll create the file with structure headings and leave the substance. Okay. I will provide this to you as soon as you do the other skills, because I have a lot more context when it comes to copywriting. And we'll submit and we'll see where that goes. All right. So we are all done now. It says I've built the 2 skills you fully specified and scaffolded the 3rd for your content. So we see here we have .claude, which if you notice anything that starts with the dot and then rest of it, it's actually going to be a hidden folder on your hard drive. So if you look in your Finder, you're probably not going to find it unless you expose it. But if we just open these branches out here, or the hierarchy, you can see here that we have a skill.md. And if I hit Shift Command V as in Victor, you're going to see here that it actually renders into a preview, which makes it a lot easier to read, right? So we have scaffold, okay, we have principles, voice and tone, openings that learn the next line, okay, value prop, all that kind of stuff. This is copywriting, so I'm going to provide that here in a second. We have cold email deliverability. So we have the instantly CLI, which this is going to be populated a lot more as well, and based on when we install that. And then we have the cold email skill. All right, so the cold email deliverability. Deliverability is the foundation of cold outbound. Perfect email that lands in spam generates 0 pipeline. The core principle: send low volume across many inboxes. The number of healthy inboxes dictates daily volume. That's true. Not how hard any signal inbox is pushed. Use this skill alongside cold email messaging. All right, formatting. Deliverability governs whether the email arrives. The others govern whether it works or once it does. The non-negotiable guardrail. Never hit send, launch, resume, or schedule a live campaign without explicit user verification first. No exceptions. Your job is to build, analyze, and stage campaigns into a ready state. Then stop and ask for a green light. See pre-launch preview, okay? Sending infrastructure. Never send cold email from your primary domain. This is true. A burned reputation on your main domain damages transactional and sales email you can't afford to lose. Isolate risk on dedicated sending domains. We have secondary domains, okay? So we register lookalike or variant domains on the primary brand. So you have, basically, if you have your business, we have Get Brand, Try Brand, Brand HQ, things like that. You can obtain domains, and you obviously want them to be in good taste and seem legit, right? The redirect or domain masking will be done or should be configured in such a way that basically makes it natural. So if someone goes to your website, they're going to know what they're going to. Redirect to each main site so they resolve legitimately. Inboxes per domain. We typically host 2 to 3 mailbox per domain, no more. Concentrating too many inboxes on one domain concentrates risk. Provider. We have Google Workspace and Microsoft have the strongest inbox placements. That is true, but there's also a lot of other ways. Choose one and keep configuration consistent. Scale by adding inboxes, never by pushing inboxes harder. Need more volume? Add domains and mailboxes, keeping per inbox caps fixed. So this is very true. For the purpose of sending emails, we want best practice here, which is getting authentication per domain, which we have SPF, DKIM, DMARC, that kind of thing. These are very standard. If you don't have these, you definitely want to dive deeper into those. These are the areas that you want to be on the domain level. Mail from an unauthenticated domain is the fastest path to get to the spam folder. Verify all 3 resolved correctly for each domain. Then the next thing you're going to want to do is inbox warm up. So this has been a best practice for quite a while. Cold email or cold inboxes have no reputation. Sending real campaigns from a cold inbox will burn it. We want to warm every inbox for 2 to 4 weeks before it sends real campaigns. Instantly.ai has built-in warm-up, along with the other ones are pretty standard nowadays. Enable it per inbox. Ramp gradually. Okay, we want to warm up traffic, build sending history and positive engagement. Opens, replies, folder moves, things like that. And then keep warm-up running continuously, even after campaigns go live, to sustain reputation. This is true. You always want to have warm-ups going on because it just shows that, it's live, people are replying to it, and the warm-up pool is a constant two-way street, right? So you're interacting with others. A lot of times you just turn it on and you don't have to worry about seeing it or anything like that. Then we have volume and cadence. So per inbox cap typically is 20 to 30 sends per day. I like to hang out in the sweet spot of around 15 or so just to go the long route and then spread out more horizontally of inboxes to know that we are doing pretty much low volume across each individual inbox, but your results may be different. Conservative caps prioritize longevity over short-term reach. Do not exceed 30 per day per inbox, even if a tool allows it. Tool capacity and inboxes per inbox per cap. 10 inboxes times 25 per day equals 250 cents per day. This is true. To grow, you add inboxes. That's how it works. Human-like sending, we have randomized intervals spread across business hours in the recipient's time zone, not all at once. Instantly.ai handles all of this. Keep it enabled. Now, from here, we're going to do list hygiene, okay? Bad lists kill domains faster than anything else. This is true. Verify every address before sending. Keep hard bounces under 2 to 3%. Use a verification pass, Instantly.ai verification or million verifier. Remove catch-all or risky, role-based, okay? This is subjective. It really depends on who you're reaching out to. I have personally seen the @Gmails, the info @ for small businesses, but you generally want to not reach out to these kinds of businesses and you want to go for a person. Suppress prior opt-outs, replies, and bounce across all campaigns. That is true. Spam avoidance. Okay, we have deliverability and messaging format. So plain text only, okay, no open tracking. The tracking pixel is a spam signal that adds nothing react on. Just disable it, especially nowadays. You have iPhones and all sorts of AI filtering now. If you have so much as a pixel in there, it's automatically going to flag that it's likely marketing emails. And the user is going to be like, hey, I don't know who this person is, but do you want to mark it as spam? You're just making it easier for them to mark it actually as spam, right? Minimizing links, ideally 0 or 1. Avoid link tracking results where possible, okay? Monitoring and rehabilitation, all right, perfect. Watch bounce rates, okay? Spam complaint rate and reply sentiment per domain. With something like Instantly, they have auto sentiment, right? So if something is saying unsubscribe me or kick rocks, the AI is going to be like, I'm not interested, right? If they say yes or sure or anything like that, that would indicate positive sentiment. Therefore, it'll mark it as interested and you can take action on that. Use Google Postmaster tools and periodic inbox placement. This is subjective. This is really not a bad tool, but if you have inbox placement tests within the platform, such as Instantly, these can be a good indicator to see if you are actually landing in the inbox. If a domain's reputation degrades, pause it, let warm up, rehabilitate, and retire if it doesn't recover. Instantly.ai campaign workflow. The Instantly CLI tool is used to create. Yep, that's correct, which we'll start here in a second. Standard flow. Okay, create, configure the campaign. And this goes into all the things here. Pre-launch required. Okay, before asking to launch, approval, produce, and present. A sample set of 5 to 10 fully rendered emails, real merge tag values, not first name. So formatting is verified end to end. And then we have confirmation of format rules. All right. Plain text, less than 100 words. Line breaks render. No broken empty personalization tokens. That's right. Send config. Okay. List health and good from there. All right. So now we're going to get into the copywriting to make sure our skill set is fully developed, and we'll continue from here. All right. So regarding the copywriting skills, one of the core things when it comes to copywriting is being able to connect with the targeted person in a relevant and secure and true way that actually provides insight and valuable information to the prospect. Some common things that I often see that are absolutely banned, and you should never do this, is remove the small talk. So if you ever say, I hope this email finds you well, or I love your profile, or I saw your LinkedIn and I think it's amazing, or I love what you're doing at XYZ company, those kinds of openers are absolutely trash and will never work. And it immediately shows that you used AI to scrape these particular these leads, and you should never do that. When it comes to copywriting, the hook, also known as the opening line, is the singular most important and valuable piece, because this is honestly the hook that will grab their attention. And if we get their attention, this will actually allow us to have the person read onto the email in hopes to actually finish all the way to the call to action. So in any email that you actually generate, it needs to be straight to the point. It needs to not have small talk. You just basically need to get right to the point with the relevant hook in order to make sure that we are capturing their attention. This applies to every email, whether it's step 1, step 2, or step 3, or any other steps that are actually following, because this first instance of the hook is basically asking yourself, why are you bothering this person? Or why are you even sending this email to this person? Because this is going to be the very first thing that they're going to see. And if the first line or the hook or the opening line is small talk or not relevant to them, they're not going to care, and they're going to immediately remove the email and mark you as spam. The middle part of the email is really the body, but I like to call it the bridge, because it is taking the hook, and what you're doing is you're connecting the hook to the tail end of the email through various ways to articulate to the person on why you're reaching out to them about something you noticed, or you're understanding their environment and their situation in such a way where they are actually provided value, or they're provided some sort of proof, or they're provided a case study to increase trust. Because a lot of times with cold email, you never met the person, so trust is like non-existent. But if you relay that you have worked with a similar company or a company that they know, then that could increase the trust transfer to know that if it actually worked for somebody else that's similar or something that they know, that it'll actually work. So that is what I like to call the bridge. And it basically connects and flows with good dialogue, just like movies, in which each step and each word directly contributes to the message. We should never have fluff. We should never have too many words. We should absolutely never have em dashes. And the bridge or the body of the email should easily display to the person that we're trying to help them in a way that makes sense for them to engage or reply with a bit of curiosity and interest. The call to action is a action item that what you're doing is you're asking the person in such a way that is very easy for them to say yes. The goal here is to do the first touch point in which a person sees insightful or says to themselves, this is interesting, tell me more, or this is interesting, how did you do that? And it should be worded in such a way that is very soft and not direct. It's not invasive, although this doesn't apply to everybody. But there are some examples of, if I could provide to you this lead magnet, would that be useful to you? Or if I could send you an example of this, can I show you that? Or do you mind if I send it over? If I could prove or show through a pilot, or if I could provide a sample, or if I could do something that makes them internalize it and they say yes or sure, like that should be the goal for them to actually say yes, because it is actually cracking the door open for them to actually say yes and start a conversation. Finally, I want to touch base on the whole message as it is. So I just gave you the frameworks on the hook, the bridge, and the call to action. That is the general frameworks that we have seen consistently to work because it is lean. Every word directly contributes towards the message, and there are no filler words. There are no M dashes. The other piece of it is revolving around the research and how we approach them in such a way that we truly understand their situation and what we could do to improve it. I like to call this the so that loop. So we're going to do the so that loop. This loop is in several layers, but for consistency, we're going to call it layers 1 through 4. So most of the time we see cold emails that are actually layer 1, and really it's barely scratching the surface of what they're reaching out for. Layer 1 is basically saying what the company does or what we do, and we're basically pitching a company based on what we do. The problem that is we are sending a message talking about us and not them. Therefore, it is immediately obvious that it's a sales pitch, and we are leaving the prospect to reason with them in order to think in their own minds, why is this valuable to me, and why should I reply? We're going to do level 2 or layer 2, layer 3, and layer 4 are examples after saying so that, in which layer 3 and layer 4 are the actual sweet spots that we want to frame our messaging with. If you were to ask yourself, we do this so that they can benefit from this and increase whatever, save time, so that they could increase and have more cash flow, so that now we have the really good stuff. And for this, I'm actually going to demonstrate for a product that this is not a sales pitch by any means. This is literally me showing you and building it out live as it is. So that way I'm not showing you how to sell lettuce. I'm showing you real stuff, right? So I just built out a new tool called TopCal, which we'll get in here in a second. And we're going to build a whole GTM sausage end to end. That way you guys will see, how we do it, and you can apply it to your own business, right? So in the context of our use case, we are going to build a GTM motion for TopCal, TOPCAL.ai. And this tool is built around calendar booking and is really revolved around meetings, similar to cal.com and Calendly and SavvyCal and all the other calendar booking tools that easily make it possible to send a link to a person so they can easily find availability and schedule a meeting. TopCal's unique value proposition is not really to compete or do a switch pitch to people that are using these tools, but rather this is an agent native tool in which agents can actually see availability, and therefore agents can book a time on the user's behalf without clicking into a iframe box or clicking through dates and times in order to book a meeting. For example, we may have an outreach, a B2B company, and perhaps the account executives or the SDRs that are involved, or even consultants, anybody that books appointments, they may very well do outreach, and sometimes they'll actually go to your website, or they'll go to the link, and then a lot of times they'll have to click into a particular date, they'll have to click into particular times and then sign up and things like that. But what actually makes it easier in this case is if the end user is actually using any AI model. It could be ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, whatever. It doesn't matter. But basically, if someone were to be in search for something and that particular business provides value there, instead of ChatGPT or Claude saying, hey, this is what I found, go check out their site and schedule a demo, it actually keeps the user inside of the chat app and basically says, oh, I found discoverability, or I found available times. If you want to connect with them, you can actually connect with them tomorrow at 10 a.m. or 2 p.m. Which one works best for you? And you can easily type in saying, book me for tomorrow at 10 a.m. And then you provide your email and the agent books your appointment for you. You don't even need to go to the site. You get the confirmation email and it's done. So this is an agentic way for agents to be able to book appointments. Again, connecting the human to the other human. And we are effectively removing the human interface to make it a lot easier for humans to book meetings. And therefore, we are in the middle of the funnel to connect people. So in the context of our so that loop, layer one would be we provide calendar booking tooling for both humans and agents. So that layer two, humans and agents can now book a time in a more or in an easier way via chat apps like Claude and ChatGPT. So that layer three, it is less steps and easier for people to schedule availability and remove the human in the loop, and allowing agents to go further than visit this site. Now we're at so that layer four, the human can actually book faster, and therefore the prospect and business owner have a new opportunity and new meeting booked that is easily done and more robust, and using agents to help move the workflow. So what we're doing here is, in any scenario where you are conducting research, I need you to look into our value proposition. So firstly, develop skills in the persona of an SDR working for TopCal. And this is what we're doing, is we're setting the persona or the role. I often talk about the big three, which is RTO. So we have the role, the task, and the output, right? This is obviously on a much bigger scale, but you can see here, we're defining the role that they are an SDR for TopCal. And then the task is really to generate opportunities. And then we have the output, right? This is a more massive scale of skills, context, and capability. So that way, this project is always going to be like it. Like, we're designing an agent that's literally an employee, right? If you think about it. And your job is to create layer three, layer four, layer three at the least, in order to generate better copy. The whole premise and reason we're doing this is because this type of content and copy actually is more meaningful. It allows the person reading the email to know that we understand their situation. And it also is a lot more relevant and tells a good story behind what they're doing. So that way it grabs emotion, it shows we understand their situation, and therefore we are making a better connection versus just doing layer one of we do this, the so that loop, and going deeper into their situation. Confirm with me you understand this. This is one thing you want to do as well. If you're trying to really explain yourself, like huge prompts, you can see here, we've been working on this prompt for, I have no idea how long, but we're really trying to make sure that the AI understands. Okay, we're steering it. So if I could just say develop the skill and go. But now that I'm explaining a concept that I want to make sure is accurate, I'm just going to say confirm with me you understand before building it, and then we can proceed upon my approval. All right, so they got back to us saying understood. I will not build it yet. Here is my understanding played back so you can confirm or correct. And noted, no M dashes in the skill or here. The three-part messaging architecture. We have hook, opening line, the single most important element. It must earn attention in the first line or the email is deleted and marked as spam. It answers, why am I bothering this person? It is immediately relevant to them and gets straight to the point. Zero small talk. This applies to every step in the sequence, not just step one. That's true. Band openers. Instant tells that you scraped and AI'd the lead. I hope this email finds you well. I love your profile. I saw your LinkedIn and it's amazing. I love what you did at XYZ. Any pleasantry or generic compliment is out. And then we have the bridge, the body. Connects the hook to the call to action with good dialogue where every word contributes like a well-written movie scene. It shows we understand their situation and environment, and it transfers trust, usually through proof or a case study referencing a similar or recognizable company, because in cold email, trust starts at zero. No fluff, no excess words, no M dashes. We have the CTA, a soft, non-invasive, easy to say yes, ask. The goal of the first touch is to make them think, this is interesting, tell me more. How did you do that? Framed as low commitment offers. If I were to send you an example, can I show you? Or do you mind if I send it over? If I could show you through a quick pilot sample, it cracks the door open in a conversation rather than demanding a meeting. This is the good stuff right here. The so that loop. So that loop is the engine behind the relevance. Most cold email layer one is what we do, a pitch about us. This forces the prospect to figure out for themselves why it matters and what reads instantly as a sales pitch. Each so that pushes a layer deeper toward the prospect actual outcome and emotion. Target layer 4, layer 3 at the minimum. We have TopCal.ai, the offer and its ladder. TopCal is an agent-native calendar booking tool, not a switch pitch against Calendly or Cal.com. Its edge, agents, ChatGPT, can see real availability and book on the user's behalf inside the chat. No iframe, no clicking through dates. The AI stops saying, go visit their site and schedule a demo, and instead says they're free tomorrow at 10 or 2, which works. Yep, so it's confirming. What I'd build. Persona, an SDR at TopCal. The skill will teach the hook, the bridge, the CTA, the band opener list, the soft CTA patterns, so that ladder. As the core research method, always lands, that's it. Quick 3 checks before I build. M dash is banned, confirm or adjust. Yes, this is good. Good, please build it out. And then I want you to fetch scrape TopCal.ai so you have full context on what the value prop and persona is. We are about to launch this, and you are assisting with this outbound motion, so you need to have full context on the business. Now, this is where you're going to want to, basically like a new hire, an employee, you want to give them all the context, right? You're giving them the computer, which is the tools, and the context, which is basically saying, read the manual. This is what you need to live by. All right, so we have built and captured, copywriting skill complete. We have, it talked about, this is what you call a code snippet. So it allows you to easily copy things. So if you ever want something to easily copy, just tell it to output in a code snippet. Then we have skill.md, perfect. Everything encodes, everything laid out. Okay, we have hook, bridge, hard bands, okay, bridge here, top cal context, holds the business context, all copy stays accurate, agent native positioning, not accounting switch pitch, perfect. 2, follow through items I handled. M-ban is now copy wide. Perfect. Top cal AI scraped. Okay, single page private preview. Yep. Value prop interface ICP signals contact and preview status saved to project memory. Top cal offer. All right. One thing worth flagging: the examples. Okay, use comparable customer as a placeholder for trust transfer. When you have a real customer name, a result to reference, give it to me and I'll wire it into the context file. Okay. All 4 skills are in place. Want me to draft the first 3-step sequence for an ICP, but actually we don't want to do that quite yet because we're going to dive into the research segment. The other thing we're going to need to do is we have context here or in the business, which we'll verify here in a little bit, but we need to give it actual capabilities. All right. And really with that, you want to go check out CLI Tools. So I actually developed quite a library of it. All are open source, but if you go to resources, we go to agent tools and CLIs. We have a number of different tools. They're called CLI tools. Now there's 2 types. There's CLI and there's MCP, but we'll get into that a little bit later on what that is. What I believe to be more efficient, especially token efficient, is just installing a CLI tool. And we are going to need instantly, which is going to be our outreach sequencer. And then I'm actually going to use HeyReach as well. And then we're actually going to use Prospeo. So we're going to go into instantly here. And you can see these are all the tools basically explaining of what it is. Everything from campaign management, things like that. All you got to do is if we were to go install from NPM, this is Node Package Manager, which this is basically like a GitHub to install everything as it relates to using it for our use case, right? Now, you'll notice 2 things right here. We have npm install -g. This actually means global. And then we have the more abbreviated version, npm I. I did this on purpose because there's actually 2 ways to install it. We have global level, okay, and then we have project level. So remember those 2. Global is also sometimes named user, and then we have project, right? So in the case of using something like instantly for our use case, we do not want to install it globally. So we're going to contain it at the project level. So we're going to scope it, right? And npm install is the exact same as npm I. We're just not going to include the -g. So we're just going to copy this, and then we're going to switch. We're going to say, for now, just install these CLI tools at the project level. I want you to install instantly CLI with this command, and I will provide API key. And then we're going to do that. And it's going to go ahead and install it. All right. And we have officially installed our first CLI tool. So this is getting into the capability, right? So we're giving it tooling and actually reach out. So we've installed instantly CLI at our project level, where you see here, it says now protecting secrets and node modules with a .gitignore. So the API key never leaks when it becomes a repo. This is true. Done. All right. CLI is installed at the project level. Status, we installed CLI, okay, to the project, and it's going to be in package.json. Now, for non-techies, you don't need to worry about that. It just basically shows like what is required, right? And then we're going to invoke npx instantly, and then whatever the command is to actually interface and do whatever we do in instantly, like add leads, create a campaign, anything like that. They verified it, okay, reference documented there, secrets protected in .gitignore, and then we're going to put it in the .env file, which it hasn't created quite yet. When you send the API key, the CLI resolves credentials, okay, with API key. So we're going to do instantly API key in a .env file, which is in here. Tell me which prefer, and I'll set it up. Let's see here. Okay, we're going to say create the .env file for me for now, and I will paste the API key. So if you go to instantly, and on the lower left here, you're going to go to your settings. We're going to go to API keys, and we're going to go and create an API key. We're going to say topcal GTM project, and we're going to give it all scopes. We're going to create it, and we're going to copy it. And then you can see right here, it has created a .env file and it already pre-populated this. So we're going to paste our API key and hit Command S, and we're going to save it, and we're done. Okay, we're going to say, okay, I have added the API key. Please check to make sure it works. All right, so it works. Cool. All right, it's instantly status authenticated successfully. Cool, and this is our tofu instance. The key is resolving from .env, which is get ignored, so it stays private, and the CLI is connected to your top of funnel workspace. Everything's wired up. You now have the full stack in place. We have 4 skills: messaging, copy, TopCal, context. We have the instantly CLI installed and authenticated. Now we're launched guardrail, documented, and enforced with campaigns activate, never runs without your approval. When we take a first look at the workspace, so we're actually diving in here. We're actually going to give it another CLI tool, which we can do to find more leads. And we're going to give it Prospeo. There's a lot of them out there. We actually use Prospeo for a lot of our things here to start off with. So we're going to install from npm. And again, we're going to copy this, and then we're going to install here. Please install Prospeo as well at the project level. Good deal. And then we're going to open up this, and we're going to go ahead and paste our API key once again. Cool. Okay, so we just did that. I just added API key, please check. And then we're going to install one more just to make sure it's validated and good to go. And that is going to be Lead Magic. While that cooks, we're going to go back to the resources tab here, and we're going to use Lead Magic, which is right here. We're going to go install from npm. And again, we're going to use this, and we're going to say, now install this at the project level. This is for validating and finding emails. All right, so now we have instantly, Prospeo, and Lead Magic as our core stack. You can see here that we've added skills, we've set up Claude, we added skills, we added context and capability. Okay, we installed the CLI tools. Now, as it said, we have the full stack ready to go where we can actually start chewing away. So now it understands your business. The obvious next question is, okay, now what am I actually going to do with it? The answer is research, because context only matters if you know exactly what you're going after. So let's turn this into the most aggressive research engine that you've ever used. Before you write a single email or build a single list, you need to understand your market better than they understand themselves. And I don't mean a generic doc that says B2B SaaS, 5,200 people. I mean the real pain points, the exact language that they use, what tools they're on right now, what their competitors are doing wrong. That kind of depth used to be a luxury, something you did once and when you started the business. Now it's a weapon you use before every single touch. Let me show you how. So in the context of what I'm demonstrating right here, I built this application TopCal, and we are about to launch. So I'm walking you through transparently 100%. So that way you can go from literal scratch all the way through. But this is the startup landing page essentially, right? So we're going to connect that to the logins, things like that. But we have enough context and capability to where we can actually start doing some research. And then before we launch, we should be good to go now. So now that we have Lead Magic, Instantly, and Prospeo, whatever your flavor is for tools that you actually use, we're going to start to actually dive in and conduct some research. And the way that I generally like to do it is we'll do these small sample sets, right? So you want to use the AI to effectively orchestrate and give you recommendations and work with it like it's a consultant. So we're actually going to drive with this and see just how far we get. I'm actually going to switch to good old Fable, and we're going to use Fable 5 to orchestrate. What we're going to do is we're going to use deep, good research to see like between the context of what TopCal does and what the Claude Code agent decides would be a good fit for us to target. We're going to enrich and actually pull real leads from Prospeo, and then we'll validate it. We'll do all those things end to end, and then we see what we come up with. From here, what I like to do is begin diving into the actual companies and people for what you believe is actually going to be a good fit for any company that can be valuable in providing the services that we have for TopCal. Again, this total addressable market, otherwise known as TAM, is going to be particularly large, but what I'd like to do is go after those that use Calendly or cal.com where it's immediately obvious that we know they're using it, because it's one of two things. Either they just use it and forget about it and they might be very satisfied with it, or they actually might be considering a switch, or they might actually be interested in using both with the agent native features of people being able to book a time with them without actually having to click through anything. And maybe also it's something new. Maybe it's something that they may want to just try out in the first place. So I'm really open to your suggestions as well. But ideally, what I'd like to do is get a strong ICP and use Prospeo for this to find what you believe is going to be a strong tier 1 ICP with quick wins, to know that they're actually going to sign up and do the free trial as well as convert with that. So what I'd like you to do is conduct thorough research on what you believe is going to be a good fit, and then come up with a sample set of around 20 leads with verified emails. And I want you to come back to me with your reasoning on why you believe they're a good fit. I also am interested to know any signals that might have come in order for you to reasonably know that they probably are on the market for it. I also want to make sure that we're touching base with common Reddit complaints, as well as X complaints, as well as G2 and Capterra complaints around these, because it's likely that they're probably experiencing the same issues with these particular calendar booking tools. And we can really just approach them to say, hey, this is what we're doing to solve for it and make it better, because we saw the same frustrations with our own stuff. All right, so we're using Fable 5, just came back, so we'll see what it does, but it's going to conduct research and do everything that I just said, and we'll go from there. All right, so I have kicked off good Fable, and it has cooked for probably around 10 minutes or so. I wasn't keeping a timer. So let's review of what it actually did. So we validated lead magic, all good there. It does to-dos. Cool. Research, Calendly, cal.com, and these are obviously competitors to what we're doing, but ideally you're going to want to do exactly like I said, where you're researching your competitors. You want to see a SWOT analysis of strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. That's just basic stuff that you do as a business, right? So explore Prospeo, cool. Define tier 1 ICP. Source candidates with visible Calendly, cal.com usage signals. Enrich leads via Prospeo. Find and verify emails with lead magic. Deliver 20 lead samples set with reasoning and signals. Perfect. So it kicked off an agent where it was looking for complaints. But we have interesting Prospeo company search, technologies filter. Okay, so it's just kind of working through filters through JSON. You just kind of let it do its thing. We used Firecrawl to scrape. That's a global tool that I have. Definitely use it in terms of a web scraper. So that's another piece of tooling that I would recommend you install. It explored ranges. Okay, source candidates with visible Calendly, cal.com. Cool. 75 candidates in hand, condensing to a compact ranking table. All right. And here we have one result. Based on my extraction from the cal.com reviews page scrape, here are the key findings. 15 to 25 verbatim negative quotes and dislikes about Cal. Now, we're not going to go into all the things negatively about cal.com. This is a lot, but you can see here, verbatim. These are good signals for us, right? I'm looking at G2, Trustpilot, that kind of thing. Recurring themes with rough counts, okay? So we're seeing recurring themes. Support response issues, slow response times, waiting 2 to 5 days for support replies, staffing. Okay, UI navigation complexity, unintuitive dashboard, confusing menu structure, too many steps, navigation. Integration, sync features, issues with Zoom connection, okay. Reliability bugs, double booking, API, pricing upgrade, forced upgrades to higher tiers, okay. AI agent mentions. So one review, okay, AI was unhelpful. We have, all right, reviewer company types, freelancer, solo entrepreneur, small businesses, all right. The data shows that cal.com has strong positive sentiment overall, 4.7 out of 5, that's pretty good, on Trustpilot with 342 reviews. But the negative reviews cluster heavily around support responsiveness, UI UX complexity for team features, and critical integration features with major problem or platforms. Complaints about Cal.com and closed source move. Okay, hey Cal.com, as a potential customer, you have just lost me. Open source is set to profit from improved transparency. All right, these are endless closed calendar options. Cal.com is being FOSS and not making us. Okay, so this was the recent move here. So this was a recent signal. Complaints about reliability. Okay, all right, complaints about Calendly. I only found Cal.com in the first place because I searched for an open source Calendly alternative. Remember when Calendly went out of business? Interesting. Google's free Gmail calendar scheduling tool, which strangely took pretty long to come to market. Calendly stretches it back to 2013. Okay, now we have market research. Real user complaints about, all right, 15 distinct. All right, so we're going here. You see the trend here. But my point is this just did a thorough analysis on all the things. So this is what you call a SWOT analysis: strengths, weaknesses, opportunity, and threats, right? I can actually use these as signals to go in because it's likely that other people are having this similar issue, right? So we did complaint research landed. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Persist with the full complaint list. Let's see here. Research to this project. Okay. Done. Full pipeline run end to end. And I want to make sure here. Deliverables, all in leads. Okay, perfect. So complaint research, tier 1 ICP report, and then tier 1 Calendly sample. 25 leads, verification status per lead. All right, tier 1 ICP report. Full reasoning, lead table, angle mapping. Complaint research, cited. Okay. The tier 1 ICP, founders, C-suite at US companies. 11 to 100 employees with Calendly confirm install in 2 segments. AI native SaaS. So we have these. Very good. They get the MCP story instantly, live in Claude ChatGPT daily, and many run their demo funnel through a Calendly link. Signing up for an agent native preview is a natural act for them. Meeting heavy services. We have recruiting firms, agencies, revenues literally booked meetings. They complain loudest about no-shows and link friction. Why I believe they're in market. The signals. 15 to 25 have a live Calendly link on their homepage. I checked each site directly. Several are in the demo CTA itself. All right, we have these. Their conversation run path exactly through the click-through friction top cal removes. The other 10 are confirmed with technology installed data. Category signals from the complaint research. Email quality. 21 out of 25 lead magic verified. That's good stuff. Lead magic coming in clutch. 4 are found to be catch-all. I'll hold those out or send a separate batch to protect the bounce cap. I deliberately excluded Lindy from the list. They match the search, but a calendar managing AI assistant, so no competitor adjacent. All right. Draft a 3-step sequence, 1 variant per segment, hooks grounded. Okay, layer 4 framing. All right. Yes, let's go ahead and draft up a 3-step sequence. Again, I want to lean in heavily on either one-to-one messaging revolving around the frameworks and the that loop. But this almost needs to be in such a way that is scalable. So it doesn't need to be completely templated copy, but it doesn't need to be strict one-to-one, because these are hyper-segmented lists or hyper-segmented leads where a lot of them can fit into small buckets. So however we need to best execute this, I want you to deploy or spawn background agents using Sonnet 5. So that way we can be more efficient with our LLM usage. So I need our main agent to orchestrate background agents using Sonnet. So that way we can extend our usage there. This is deep into the orchestration, but we're literally just handing it off to another LLM. And that's where you need to know, like, this is one-to-one chat, but it could actually spawn background agents. And this is going to be key when we do this at scale in order to really launch a campaign. And let's get a 3-step sequence drafted for my review before we do anything and instantly. We're also going to say this. I also want you to document every single complaint and research task that you did, so we do not lose any context. I want to use this as fuel for a copy, as you said, but I also want to take these files and give it to another AI agent for me to build and address within the actual code base of the application. All right, so what I'm doing is I'm steering it. So while it's working, I send a prompt off now, and now it's going to acknowledge, and it's going to, if it didn't already log it, which I know it did, complaint research, but I want to make sure all the details, because now we have some good context here. So I already see right here, just in kind of watching the agent, almost like watching a fireplace, you want to make sure it doesn't get too crazy. So I'm actually going to stop this because I want to steer it. So everything looks good so far, but I think you're almost missing the call to action. Is we would like to see their feedback, since this is obviously cutting edge, and for people to actually use this in such a way where agents can find them more easily, because Calendly, although they launched an MCP server, the actual prospects or people that are actually trying to book a meeting don't need to have this MCP server. In fact, it's not realistic for them to install an MCP server to book a meeting. That is for the actual users themselves. So when someone is actually searching for service or book a meeting or book an appointment, whatever that looks like, that is something that should be fed into any agent. It could be ChatGPT or Perplexity. We should not require them to install literally anything, but for them to really be able to book a meeting right from the link. And this is really interesting and unique because it doesn't exist, at least that I have found. So this is our approach to go to scale and really try to dive deeper into this. So with that, have a call to action, something like about, we'd love to get your feedback if this is useful. Would you be open to a 30-day trial or something like that? The biggest thing here is companies transact with other companies for 3 reasons. It's to save money, make more money, or to save time. The fourth, when all 3 are not working, is really just to gain valuable insights or feedback, in which this is what our goal is doing here, is just to get feedback. Like, is this interesting enough? And we'll let that speak for itself. All right, so it says all done, sequences drafted, revised in your corrections, and everything documented. Here's the full picture. Sequences in the sequences folder. So we're starting to build out a good code base. 4 Sonnet agents drafted 1 sequence per bucket against the skills, and then I QA'd and revised all of them with your 2 corrections baked in. The differentiation stated precisely. Calendly's MCP is now used as a category validation, then pivoted. It serves the calendar owner. The person booking still has to click through. TopCal is the other side. Anyone's agent books straight to your link, nothing for them to install. That doesn't exist anywhere else. Uniqueness now anchors the steps 3 in every sequence. A CTA everywhere is feedback plus trial. It's early access, and your feedback would shape what we build. Open to a 30-day trial. Soft, easy yes positions them as design partners. That's good stuff. All right, so we have visible Calendly demo. Cool. Then we have number 2. Okay, sequence 2, AI native install signal only. AI recommends them, then dead ends. Visit their site. Yep, recruiting. Okay. Each file has defined merge variables with fill roles. Okay. Demo hook name. So they're using this variable. Their exact funnel mechanism. All 3 steps. Word counts. Okay. Less than 100. Most 70 to 95. And 2 fully rendered step 1 examples. QA. I applied top of the agent's drafts. Dedupe the Calendly MCP. Documentation, your interrupted request, complete and research. Okay, so we archived this. We put all this in here so I can transfer this as good context. The differentiation and CTA standard were also saved in the skills memory, so every feature inherits them. Next step, when you're ready, review the 4 sequence files. On your approval, I'll stage everything. So we're going to go into sequences. Okay, so we have this folder right here, and we're going to hit Shift Command V to do a preview. We have first name, which is in camel case, right? Let's see here, per lead. So we have first name, demo hook. We keep seeing the same math on demo links. Hundreds of clicks, a dozen people pick a time, 3 actually book. Every extra click before confirmed is a chance for a warm lead to cool off. TopCal makes that same link agent bookable. When a buyer, ChatGPT or Claude's find you, it can check availability. It's early access, yep. Open to 30-day trial. More of companies' buyers are starting their search, okay, instead of Google. Even when AI recommends you, it dead ends at visit the site to book a demo. That's a step most people never take. Calendly's MCP doesn't fix this, serves the calendar owner, all right? One thing we haven't found anywhere else, a booking link, prospect's own agent from directly no install, okay? So you'll notice here, when we're doing a multi-step sequence, okay, and we're doing this day 3 and day 9, so that's perfect. We don't want to remind the person why they didn't reply. So you notice step 2 and step 3 is not, hey, just bumping this up, or follow up here, or I'm not reminding them that they didn't reply to me, because you get an email and then you don't respond, and then I get a follow up knowing that I'm in a sequence, and it just sometimes will say Brandon question mark, or just bumping this to the top of your inbox. So now you want me to refer to the previous email to reread and remind myself why I didn't reach out to you. What you actually want to do is provide additional context. This is another opportunity to actually show more value or more insight on why you're reaching out to them, right? Same thing here is we have, well, these are actually net new emails, so that's fine. But what I could actually do is keep the same thread. But these are actually all 3 net new emails, which is fine. But you really want to think about how you're strategizing the email thread or sending a net new email, because pretty much nobody remembers a cold email they received like 5 minutes ago, right? So think of cold email as a private ads network where first impressions are almost unlimited. We have some good copy here, AI native SaaS. We're going to hit Shift Command V again. Again, it's very direct. It's very simple. Is the message relevant, right? We're doing a signal here, and is this relevant? I think that's a yes. So, hi, first name. More buyers now ask ChatGPT or Claude to recommend product, before they Google one. When company comes up, the answer still ends with, we're building top cows to recommend a booked call inside the chat, okay? It's early access, so we create that FOMO from AI native teams that need it most, open to a 30-day trial, okay? And I want them to be like, sure, or no thanks. I mean, either way. And then recruiting. All right. Candidates already resent being sent a link to manage their own calendar, and every date picker click is a chance to screen or client call slips through. We built TopCal so a candidate's own assistant can book the screen straight from your link. Nothing for them to install. No more calls. All right. Recruiting teams running high interview volume keep telling us the same thing. Reminder texts don't cut no-shows. They just shift from a different slot. The actual fix for moving the click-through. All right, let's see here. So yeah, this all looks good. And we have agencies, consultants. Okay, we'll just do one last little validation there. Basically, whole path, lead, core, and call. It's true. All right, so we have our variables here. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to switch back. We're going to say, this copy all looks good for V1. So I would like to begin testing this. So let's go ahead and get these leads spawn up at scale. Let's go to 100 leads, and then let's go ahead and create the campaigns and upload these to Instantly. But before you do that, actually, let's go ahead and use Instantly CLI to upload these leads for now, just so I can make sure they rendered, because I would hate for you to go at scale and waste a bunch of tokens. So before you actually do this at scale for going up to more prospects, let's first upload the initial Instantly campaign, and then from there I will approve it. So don't run at scale quite yet. I don't want to send it off on a potentially hours of a goose chase or hours of something and it'd be quite off, or the formatting is wrong. So we need to do this with a very small sample set. And you can see right here, it says on it, staging the real thing and Instantly with current 25 leads set. So right here, it is using Instantly CLI. And so it's going to create the campaign. It's going to write the copy. It's going to do everything. All right. So we're now staging Instantly. Status draft cannot send. Good deal. So we created 4 campaigns with a very small subset here. Again, open tracking's off, text only on. Render verification, 2 things surface. All right, let's see here. Waiting for your approval. So we're going to go ahead and take a look. And we're going to go to campaigns, and there it is. Let's see if it did it right. It did not upload the copy. Let's check to make sure the leads are in there in the first place. Yeah, so we have it, and we have funnel detail. Okay, very good. You created the campaigns, but the variables and copy is not uploaded to it. Use instantly CLI to ensure that the actual copy with the right merge tags variables is uploaded. No need to create new campaigns, but you can just update the existing ones using instantly CLI. All right, copy repush to all 4 existing using campaigns update sequence, this time instantly native editor format. Yep, line breaks. Okay, let's check. Here we go. Okay, cool. Let's see what we're looking at. It's closer. Now we're missing the first name. All right, so let's go ahead. So you upload the copy, great job. But one thing that you missed, first name at the beginning. In fact, I need you to audit everything on the upload and do this right from now on. These are little mistakes that should not be happening at all. All right, we fixed, audited end to end, and the standard is locked in. You're right, this shouldn't have happened. Sequence 2 had a greeting while 1 and 3 and 4 did not. All 12 emails, okay. Full audit, so it never happens again. Let's go ahead and refresh, and let's see what we're looking at. All right. Hi, first name, and let's do this. The agencies, column K, early access, good deal. Let's go over to another one. Hi, I'm Ron, Calendar Widget, Hamster, George Page, okay. Basically, your whole path lead to a qualifying call. Qualifying call, Calendly on Yahoo's homepage, basically your whole path. All right, that's good stuff. And then recruiting, let's check this out. Looks good, looks good. Okay, let's hit preview. Okay, consultation booking through Calendly, which means every candidate, client, candidates. All right. Sounds good. No shows. Here we go. That's awesome. Okay. And then we have demo funnel. Let's see what this looks like. Demo hook. Reforms homepage, demo form. Okay. Calendar date picker. We keep seeing the same math. Good stuff. The variables all look good. So we are good to go when it comes to this. Now, the next little bit is doing this at scale. So in the next section, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to let this rip at scale. So that way I can teach you guys how to actually launch Sonnet agents or background agents to actually conduct in batches where we're doing research and actually deploying those at scale into instantly. So up to this point, as you saw in the previous section, we had a sample set of where our copy was already uploaded. We know exactly what we're going for. We have a lot of signals. So in this scenario, this is one that I would actually launch at nighttime, which it's almost nighttime now. And because I know we're actually going to have quite a lot of leads that are going to be scraped and all that kind of stuff using Prospeo instantly and things like that. And so this is going to run basically on a loop until it's all validated and good to go. So again, it's all in the prompt, and we're going to send Claude Code on a journey to basically conduct all the research, and we'll go from there. Now that we have full context around who we're targeting and signals, including complaints that we've seen, we also know the various markets and things like that at which we want to scale this. So with that said, what I want you to do is to deploy and spawn background agents utilizing Sonnet. So that way we're not exhausting our usage too fast. But what I want you to do is to take the same context that you had and make sure it is sharply precise on everything that we're doing here. So that way at a one-to-one level, any leads that we actually pull from the Prospeo database, we are actually pulling in here into a CSV. And then from that CSV, we need to enrich their contact information, like a valid email address, because the number one thing we're going to do is actually email them. So there's really no reason to go full send or full research on any lead that we don't actually have a valid email address. So that'll be the first step, is to actually populate a larger data set for which we can actually scale this. And let's go ahead and start with 1,000. What I want you to do is to understand all data points that we had, just like we did. And I want to put them in the same buckets that we had for our campaigns. I want to make sure that names are normalized and company names are normalized, I want to make sure the signal is exactly as you initially drafted to make sure that it is consistent and clean across the board. And then once that is all done, I want you to upload it to Instantly CLI and make sure and verify that it's cleanly uploaded. And once again, we do not want to hit send because I want to verify the data is clean and accurate up to this point. And then from there, we can see what we're looking at now. The goal here is to have a good version 1 of an outreach sequence and from end to end, be able to scale this even more. So with that said, I need you to make sure that each sub agent that you spawn up is carefully articulated and given very sharp context here based on what you know. I want you to run in a full loop, which includes the orchestration, the context passing, the verification, the lead sourcing, the verification of the email address, the context around researching their actual company for relevance. And then once we receive the research back, I want the sub agent to spawn up the actual similar merge tag that we have in the email. And then from there, I want you to verify that it's actually done correctly and to fix any issues that may arise. I also want to make sure that you do not and never hallucinate. So if there's a particular data set or variable that is not with at least high confidence provided, I need to know about this, and we need to likely implement just a simple fallback variable to know that this can be actually filled without saying anything false. Do not make any false claims. Do not claim anything unless I have specifically verified it or have previously provided to you. And then once that is all done, if you come up short of 1,000 leads that are verified, I want you to source more until we have about 1,000 leads per segment. And then from there, come back to me to know that all of the leads have been verified. They have been enriched. I want to make sure we capture that inside of this project to make sure it is properly organized. And then I need to know samples, and I will go in instantly to actually verify this. Do not stop until this is 100% complete. And I want to make sure that the data is clean and verified to be accurate. All right, and then we're going to go /loop, okay? And we're going to go and select that. And then from here, we are going to hit enter, and this is going to work for quite a while. So we will come back when it's all done, and we'll see what the results come about. All right, so after a long while, to be honest, I have no idea how long this took, but effectively it woke itself up on being able to run at scale. So you can see here on a loop, that's kind of where you want to really just let it do its thing, you know, without having a timer and things like that. And so you can see it ran all the way through. What I did was I basically told it to scale it to at least 1,000 leads. So that way we can ramp up from there and at least be able to do at least a quick, very small data set of around 4,600. So the goal here is to have about 1,000 leads so we can make sure that each one is good, and then we can scale even more, right? So from here, how the scale was reached, all claims stayed true, multi-tool install signals. So we went to the signals that we just researched. Variables named the observed tool verbatim based on what we scraped there. Deep signal scanning, we scan their homepage for contact, demo, book across 10 scheduler patterns. Signal list pools where the copy made 0 tool claims, so that way we're not hallucinating. That's great. Data quality accounting, okay, 226 leads held for review, description, all right, perfect. And then your move, all right. So I went ahead and triggered the loop to keep going, re-entering the loop. I went ahead and did everything, and now we have basically just to verify it. So we're going to go ahead and switch back to instantly, and we're going to see our campaigns are still all good to go here. So if I were to go into leads, we could see a lot more leads are loaded, and we can see the actual funnel detail here is all loaded. And if we go to sequences, we can see here we have first name variable, which again is camel case, right? And then we have funnel detail, which again is a camel case variable here. So this calls it like it is. Hi, Steven. The Calendly link synced to your Trio SEO's homepage is basically your whole path from a lead to a qualifying call. Okay, and it leads into the bridge, and then we have a call to action from there. If we were to go here, we have a similar thing where we're just basically saying additional insights particular to this segment here, which is targeting agencies, right? So we're sending it 3 days later. And then from here, we have, again, Calendly just shipped the MCP server, a clear signal that the agent booking is becoming the default, but theirs serves the calendar's owner, not the prospect, still has the click through. So all good there. The only thing that I just noticed here is we'll want to change 3 days, and then we're going to actually, yeah, we'll leave that at 3 days as well. So there is that one. And then again, we're verifying for quality and accuracy. So we're going to see we have 1.2K leads there. And one thing that we just want to make sure is good there. And we're going to make sure the email renders properly, which looks like it does. And we'll check that one. All right, we have hook line. Okay, so you see here we have hook line. Right there is, again, camel case. And we're going to go ahead and save that. And we have recruiting. Now we have AI native SaaS businesses. So one thing I'm noticing here is a trend is at step 1, for some reason, it's still claiming as 0. So we want to make sure that we clarify it. But this is a very small change. So like, why would I ask AI to do it and then potentially mess it up again? You know what I mean? All good there. So we're going to go back to AI native. Okay. And then we have demo funnel. And again, we have the 3 days. So these are the little details, attention to detail stuff that you want to look at. Again, we have first name, demo hook. Let's make sure the variables properly render there, which it looks like it does. Again, we have 1.1 leads, and we have demo hook variable, which again, these are all the signal based hooks that we want to dive right into. So with that said, we're going to move on to the next segment, which is really diving into quality AI copy or quality copy without AI slop. So here we are for the next section. We're going to dive into right here, which is the actual skills. And I just want to cover, exactly some of the frameworks that we use internally at top of funnel and instantly in order to really just reach the other human. So if you go into here, at least this is for 2026 and beyond. So some of the things here that is just AI slop, and it comes out just as is. And so these are things that you really want to be aware of before you actually hit send, because they'll just immediately you'll lose your credibility and people will know that was AI slop, right? So what we're going to do here is you notice that we have RTO, right? We have the role. You write as an SDR for TopCal, which is the app that in this use case, but ideally it would be for your business, right? Your job is the copy that makes a stranger think, this is interesting, tell me more, and reply. Good copy is lean. Every word contributes to the message, like dialogue in a well-written movie. Nothing is filler. The skill governs persuasion. Format rules, which is 75 to 100 words because nobody reads essays. Plain text, mobile, one call to action that is very obvious. Don't leave a bunch of questions or 2 or more. Just make it one simple call to action. Live and cold email messaging. Do not restate them, build on them. Infrastructure lives. Okay, this is talk about here. The core philosophy. And this goes down to really sales and marketing for what it just is, right? So think of it with your actual business that you have. It comes down to 2 things, features and benefits. The features that you have are actual features, right? You may have an application or a service in which that you provide. You could be a plumber. Well, you actually fix toilets or you fix, pipes, things like that. If you own a SaaS, well, you may provide, email validation or enrichment or who knows what, right? Whatever you do, that is typically the features at which you produce, but the benefits is how your customers benefit from your services. That is the core thing at what you want to focus on is the benefit, because if they see a product, they have to actually think, how is this useful to me? So this is core of the so that loop. So that way it helps you almost not necessarily reverse engineer, but you're actually eliminating brain cycles or helping the user. You're putting it right on paper by telling a story, right? So going into hard bands, this is definitely one of the things here that you should never put in emails. But we have no small talk, no generic compliments. These are instant tells that a lead was scraped and run through AI. Never write in any form. I hope this email finds you well. I love your profile. Your LinkedIn is amazing. I love what you're doing at company. In fact, a lot of times I try to avoid company name. It just sounds cheesy. And, I'm not saying to not use it, but you just want to be careful. Any warm up pleasantry before the point. So yeah, get to the point. The other thing too is M dashes. The thing is just don't use it because you're just going to be suspected for using AI. And then that's one of those things. If they see an M dash, you're likely going to be deleted or not replied to or put to spam. So just use a period and start a new sentence, or maybe a semicolon. I don't know. No fluff, no filler words, no buzzword soup. If a word can be cut without using meaning, cut it. That's exactly right. Then we have the architecture. Okay, so we have the hook, the bridge, and the CTA. Really, or greeting, the body, and call to action or sign off, right? I like to call it the hook, the bridge, and the CTA is because in marketing, you want to capture their attention. The hook is literally capturing their attention. The first line is what needs to be strong and to the point, right? You can see right here, the most important element. Think of it for you. If you were to see an email, maybe you'll read like the first few words and you're like, meh, right? But if it actually grabbed you, like it actually got your attention, then that person that sent you an email might actually have maybe 1 or 2 more seconds more. So you're actually kind of reading on. So we want to continuously buy that time in a very brief amount of time, right? So the hook decides everything. It grabs attention and buys the second line. Before writing it, answer honestly. Why am I bothering this specific person? If you cannot answer with something relevant to them, don't send it. A hook that is small talk or irrelevant gets the email deleted and marked as spam. Get straight to the point. The hook is the relevant, specific, and about their world. It is the same discipline on every follow-up. A follow-up is not just a checking in, okay? So we're actually providing additional insights. We're providing additional value to actually expand and take the opportunity to actually do that. Then we have the bridge. And again, the reason I like to call it the bridge is because we're connecting the hook to the CTA through a number of ways. So this is kind of where the meat is. But the bridge connects the hook to the CTA with good flowing dialogue. It articulates the why you are reaching out about something you notice, shows you understand their environment and situation, and transfers trust. The trust transfer, since trust is near zero, reference a similar company or a name that recognize we did X for company, right? For comparable. If it worked for someone like them, it can work for them too. Every sentence moves the story forward. No fluff, no over-explaining, no M dashes. The bridge should make sense for them to reply with curiosity or interest. So then we have the call to action, okay? It's a soft, easy yes. The goal of the first touch is a cracked open door, not a booked demo. Word to ask is so very easy to say yes, soft and non-invasive, so they can internalize it and think, sure, show me. So this is really what it is. We have no friction or low friction. Is if I could send you a quick example of this, would that be useful? Want me to send it over? Mind if I show you what that looks like? If I could show you a short pilot sample, would that be worth a look? Then we have the so that loop. This is my favorite. I thought of this a little while ago. So ask yourself in your business, what do you do? And then answer that question so that, that's level 2 or layer 2. And then add another couple so that's, right? So this is how you reach layer 3 and 4 depth instead of pitching. Start from what we do and then push each so that toward the prospect's real outcome and emotion. Layer 1. So what the company does or the product does, this is a pitch about us. It forces the prospect to figure out why it matters and reads instantly as a sales email. Most cold email dies here. Never ship layer 1. This is a lot of the stuff that you probably get. We don't work that way. Layer 2, this immediately capability unlocks, right? Or the immediate capability. Layer 3, the change to their workflow or the friction remove, minimum acceptable depth. You want to get to layer 3 at least. Layer 4 is the outcome the prospect's business actually cares about, the new meeting, the opportunity, the revenue, or speed. Target this. So we want to go after layer 3 or layer 4. Always frame the copy at layer 3 or layer 4. This is what shows the prospect you understand their situation, grabs emotion, and tells a true story about their world. See the fully, okay, so we can bring that up. How to build a ladder from any prospect. State layer 1, what TopCal does. Okay. Ask so that, and write the next layer. Repeat until you hit an outcome that the prospect's business feels. Okay, we're trying to reach to the human. Tie the top of the ladder to something specific about this prospect. Okay, write the bridge from layer 3 to 4 at layer 1, and then end with a self call to action. So if we go into this one, right, the so that ladder, and if we dive in here, the core differentiation, let's see. Okay, so this is the canonical so that ladder for TopCal, right? So layer 1 provides calendar booking tooling for both humans and agents so that humans and agents can book a time more easily via chat apps like Claude and ChatGPT. So that it's fewer steps to schedule, so the human-in-the-loop friction is removed and agents can go further than just visit the site. So that the human books faster, so the prospect's business captures a new meeting opportunity that closes more easily and robustly with agents moving the workflow forward. That was kind of wordy, but I think you hopefully see what I'm getting at here. We have the angle inventory. A prospect's running heavy outbound whose whole motion is click my link and pick a time. That's where there's leakage there. Team building an AI agent assistant that can answer the question, but then dead ends like, hey, check out this site and poke around and find that. So this is kind of the so that ladder when it comes to that. And then what we'll do is we'll just hit Shift Command V once again, diving into the voice, plain spoken, direct, human. So this is really the core of it here. So you've got qualified leads and outreach that actually sounds human, but outreach drives traffic somewhere. When someone clicks your link, where do they land? So in this next section, we're going to go over landing pages on how to do conversion funnels. Your outreach is going to drive people somewhere. And if that somewhere is a weak page, you're burning every lead that clicks. Most people either spend weeks going back and forth with a designer, or they grab a template and end up looking like everybody else. I'm going to show you how to build a page that converts from scratch in less time than it takes to have a meeting about building one. All right, so what we're going to do is we're just going to start from literal scratch. And you can see right here, this is the old site. And the purpose of this is not only demonstrate the way you can build a website, but you can act for your own business, by the way, but you can actually leverage this as a lead magnet to know like, hey, I actually already built your site. Like, can I show you what it would already look like potentially? And then you can actually make revisions and know on the front end and the back end of actually what to do, because that would dictate, largely on how the back end and everything would route, such as booking a meeting or making those Slack notifications. So I'm actually going to close all this, and you know what? I'm actually going to start a brand new cursor instance, and we are going to open project. We're going to go developer. We're going to call this Eclipse www. And what I like to do, actually, we're going to do Eclipse Pizza. I typically like to have a very standardized naming convention. So if it's an app, I usually do app. If it's the website, I'll do www. So I'll just do what it is, -www. All right, and we're going to go and open this. And this will be a empty folder. All right, and we are good to go. So we're going to go ahead and bring up a new Claude. So you can see I have absolutely nothing right now in my files. So we're going to paste the URL, and we're going to hit Shift return, and we're going to use Spokenly to give it our best and see where it goes from here. You are an expert web designer. Your job is to take the above mentioned URL, which is for a local small business in Reno, Nevada, known as Eclipse Pizza. The owner has owned this company for a very long time. And while he is prideful in the website and for what he's done, he also recognizes and knows that the website is not where it needs to be, especially in today's age with AI discoverability and really just being the premium pizza joint in Reno, Nevada. One of the core things that they do, obviously, is quality food. They really pride themselves in being local. They pride themselves in the food that they make specific to pizza is extremely good and high quality. And the website needs to be polished in such a way where the quality of their food reflects the quality of the website. So with that said, I mentioned to the owner that I would do him a favor and revamp his website. So what I would like you to do is to use all of the latest tech. So let's go ahead and use React, and we're going to build a Next.js. that's going to be deployed on Vercel. And I would like for you to make a very compelling website that is able to be loaded fast on a variety of devices, including laptop, cascading down properly to tablets like iPads, and then to mobile devices such as iPhone and Samsung Android devices. So with that said, I need you to scrape and fetch the website as it currently sits. I need you to download the resources such as any videos, logos, case studies, menus. I need you to basically take every single asset from the website that's published. Let's bring that into this repository. And then I want you to come up with a game plan on the latest full stack of how we can really make the owner blown away by the website being the best pizza joint in Reno. So we're going to see what this actually comes up with, and we will review. All right, so it's all done scaffolding and doing its research based on everything that I wanted to do for Eclipse Pizza. So we can see here it says done. The entire site is archived in this repo and the game plan is written. Here is the TLDR. So what I captured, everything published on eclipsepizza.net, a GoDaddy website builder. It's 5 pages and now is in site archive. That's great. 47 media files at full original resolution. The logo, okay. The homepage, Vimeo, here, video downloaded. Okay, so we actually downloaded the video. The menu, which is an image, plus the older 2022 menu. And, all right, straight off the CDN, cool. Better quality than the site ever displays, which is great. Most photos are straight okay. All page copy, load including the full secret menu with prices, the lumberjack, okay, Ring of Fire, Total Eclipse, and the legendary cutting options, Metropolitan, Anarchy. All right. Brand identity, okay, warm brown palette, which is great. It took everything when it comes to the color. Business facts, okay, we have the facts there. What we have here is 2 important discoveries. The menu exists only as a PNG. Google and AI assistants literally cannot read what Eclipse sells. This is the single biggest discoverability problem in fixing it real, which real HTML menu, okay? And then we have JSON LD schema, which just basically means linked data. Hours are published nowhere on the site. We need them from the owner or his Google business profile. The game plan, full details in plan.md, short version. So yeah, we're going to do a Next.js, okay, website plus Tailwind on Vercel. Fully static, targeting Lighthouse 95 on mobile, okay? All photos through Next Image. The hero video re-encoded from 8 megabytes to 1 megabyte. Design keeps his brand, but it elevates it with full bleed, food photography, and sticky. Okay, this is all good stuff. So let's go ahead and go over the plan, and we're going to hit Shift Command V to render it properly. We're going to see here we have Eclipse Pizza. Website revamp game plan. Okay, make Eclipse Pizza feel like the food does. Premium, warm, unmistakably local, while making it fastest, most discoverable pizza. Perfect. So we have the tech stack here. We have the why, sitemap, all good stuff. Design direction. We have warm, oven-fired palette. That's good. AI discoverability and SEO. That is definitely something we want to do. Let's see here. Performance plan. Re-encode the hero video. So we're going to do that. Build phases, okay? Items from the owner, which I can get from him. Business hours, which we can get. Confirm 2024 menu prices are current. I'm sure they are. Any menu items, okay, that he wants added or retired. Cool. So we are going to say, great job on the research and great discoverability, or discoveries rather, based on what you were talking about when it comes to the JSON-LD. And I would like for you to execute on building a proof of concept website and making it extremely compelling, but polished and professional. Let's have it be in such a way that it is as close to the finished product as much as possible to make every bit of page and detail as good as it gets. Before you do anything, make sure you confirm the latest stable tech stack first. Let's see here. You don't always necessarily want to jump to the latest because it could be buggy, it could be a beta, it could revert back. So you want to go, something is mature enough though, where Next.js is. There should be some good stabilities, latest here in order to make sure that It actually is a good consideration to actually build on top of it. All right, proof of concept is built, verified, and production ready. Here's the full picture. The stack, verified stable before starting. Next.js 16 is indeed good to go. I also read the next 16 breaking changes. Cool. What got built? Web / I mean, that works. 5 pages, all from real content. We have the home, okay, which talks about everything there. The menu, secret menu, cool. AI discoverability layer, the thing that old site completely lacked. Now, this is actually where a lot of companies are lacking things, which again is the JSON linked data, or LD, with hours, address, and everything, every pizza, etc. Okay. Also, LLMs.text. So this right here is one of the things that are being adopted. While it's not, as of this recording, standard, it is largely definitely one of the things that is always similar to robots.txt, things like that. So per page metadata, OG image, sitemap, PWA manifest, which is progressive web app, and 301 redirects for the old GoDaddy pass. Mobile polish, cool. To run it, we're just going to do this. Before launch, needs Dave. We're just going to go ahead and run it here. So we could bring up a terminal and run it just like there, but I'm just going to go and tell AI to do it. I'm going to say, run this on, let's see here. Or let's start the dev server and let me see this on localhost. And let's go port 3000 if that's available. So for those that don't know, if you do anything on localhost, we're really just going to view the site on our computer. It's not published to the actual internet quite yet, which is where you would go to like the actual domain. So anytime you're doing something locally, it'll be on localhost. So what it needs to do is spin up the dev server, and then we'll be able to see it right here within cursor. Perfect. Dev server is up and running on localhost 3000. Okay, let's go ahead and see what this looks like. All right. This is the first time I've actually seen this too. So not bad, not bad. Let's see. Gourmet Pizza, Reno Roots. Let's see. Okay, yeah, we have a little hover here. See the menu. Let's see if it goes through anything here. All right. So his face is a little off, so that's cool. We need to get, okay, this is good. And it's displaying a little bit better here. Good stuff. We have the video, which is a little bit better. It's higher, it's a lot better quality. Our story, okay. The dish, day fish, that's right. From the deck. Oh, this is good stuff. Secret menu, okay. We love our customers. All right. So I would say that's impressive already. It's already linked down there to the Instagram and their Facebook. All right, let's see what the secret menu is. There it is. You found it. Secret menu. Okay. So we're going to go through here about the Ring of Fire. Okay. Let's see. And we have our story. Let's see what that looks like. Welcome to Eclipse Pizza. They have all of the photos here. Okay, 3 things done right. Quality food. All right, so review by our toughest. There it is, toughest critics. That's great. So it displays that. All right, order pickup. Let's see if this works. Well, it goes to the Square site. Interesting. Okay, so they can go there. Let's see here. So this could be more of a V1, right? So the actual order pickup, order delivery. So let's go to order.online. So it's an outsourced place. So cool. So they're all set up there. Featured in the Reno News and Review. Let's see what that looks like. That's good stuff. This compared to this, I mean, it's nothing against him, but you can see this video is very pixelated. It's very GoDaddy-ish, right? Come see us. It's basic stuff, right? So if we were to, I mean, I'm gonna go ahead and show him this and be like, here it is. This is exactly what it is. So everything looks good, but I do think that the hero page with the photo needs to be optimized quite a bit. The page looks amazing from initial review. Let's see. We're going to go, Shift 4, because I'm going to screenshot this. And then we are going to paste it so that way it can actually see the image there. Now, as you can see in the hero image, the person's face is cut off. While it is a great photo, we need this a bit more positioned better so his eyes are not completely cut off. Does this image support being able to properly display this? Let's see what that does. All right, it says fixed. His eyes and full face are now visible. Refresh localhost. So let's see what that looks like. There it is. We don't need to refresh. Good to go. All right. So another thing here is We can see here this all looks good, but I actually want this to pop out a little more because given that this is actually a great photo, this hero section looks wonderful. Thank you for doing that. The photo is properly positioned. What I'd like to do though is you can see where it actually shows Reno, Nevada, locally owned since 2003, and the actual hero and then the sub hero area that says thin crust pies on whole wheat dough made fresh every morning. Some of that actually looks somewhat difficult to read for some users. So is there a way we can make that pop a little more so it's the contrast is a lot more easily read? So that way when you have anybody that has more difficult reading, that it'll be a lot easier to do. Let's also make sure that this again cascades down properly into tablets and mobile devices. All right, done. The hero copy pops cleanly with all 3 breakpoints. Refresh and you'll see it. So let's go and look at it. So we can see that now the photo actually is a little subtle. We have gourmet pizza, Reno roots, and this actually looks a little bit better to actually display. So now that we have the skeleton and everything all set up there, how do we actually get this live on the internet, right? Well, I'm glad you asked. So the first thing I noticed while this was cooking is I actually fat fingered and Eclipse Pizza www is spelled wrong. So what we want to do now is get this pushed to GitHub, and then let's get this deployed on a Vercel project. You have the Vercel and GitHub CLI already logged in. So what we're going to want to do is to push all this code to GitHub, and where it's going to track our code base, things like that. So that way we can make iterative versions and things like that. And then that is actually going to push to Vercel, which is going to ultimately push to the internet. So let's go ahead and do that. But first we need to change the spelling of this project so we can ensure it aligns with the repo, and that is Eclipse Pizza www. So change the folder and structure the website in such a way that Vercel can deploy this, and let's get this in sync with a private repo on GitHub under B. Charlson. And now what it's going to do is actually going to initialize a repository. So we're going to be under main branch. That way, if you fat finger just like I did, you can actually switch back and make sure it's all good to go. All right, so everything is renamed, pushed, and live to production. So we have the live site, which is actually deployed to Vercel. So let's just go ahead and click on this. And now we have ourselves a live website. So this is actually, as I mentioned, parked on Vercel. But yeah, that's just an example. And then we'll go ahead and also look at the GitHub repository. So it's private under my repository. So again, this is where the code is going to be tracked. And if we click on this, we can see that the repository is right here. So we have the README and all the things there. And then our code base is nice and backed up there. So now that you know how to build a website, both for companies as a lead magnet, as well as for your own business, we need to run some ads. So in the next section, I'm going to display on how you can actually use Claude Code on actually generating good ad copy so you can run ads like Facebook and everything else. All right, so we're in our instance with Claude Code where we have all the cold email skills. We have our leads that we are basically doing cold outreach for. So what we're going to do is we're just going to work inside of this since we already have a lot of context around what we've been working on. So from here, we're going to go ahead and see what we come up with. Now, for another part of this project, what I'd like to explore is such a way that we can actually create ad copy and creative that is able to be tested. The whole consensus here is that we want to not only run cold outbound emails, but we also want to generate ad copy variances. So that way, if we need to do things like Facebook or Instagram or TikTok or even LinkedIn, that we're going to have a lot of different variables. So that way we can review and then from there, write those and set a budget from there. Would you mind looking into this and just make sure that we have a good strategy in place for really having a whole marketing team, which is going to be you inside of this Claude Code instance. So please go ahead and do an initial analysis and strategy. So that way we can consider what we need to do in order to get a paid media strategy in place here. All right, we're gonna go ahead and let this cook and see what we come up with. But basically you can see from scratch, if you have no experience, no coding or anything like that, we are gonna now rely on Claude Code to actually be like our CMO effectively and dive in and say, hey, you know what? This platform is probably gonna be best for you. This is gonna be the ad variables. Let's set an initial budget for this, that kind of thing. So we're gonna see where this lands and we'll be right back. All right, so our initial agent came back with all the background agents too. So I went ahead and, it went down a deep rabbit hole, which you can see right here. So we're gonna go ahead and just review this. And then it came up with actually some good markdown files, everything right there. So let's go ahead and just see what this looks like. So in the context of topcal.ai, and again, this could apply to your business. This is just an initial strategy that I'm sharing here live. So for learning purposes, right? Context assumed throughout. Early stage B2B SaaS, agent native scheduling, private preview. The goal is cheap waitlist, trial signups, not purchases. All figures, okay? So benchmark, we have benchmark CPC, CPM, CPL, 5 to 8 average globally, okay? So that's what we're looking to deal with, especially for LinkedIn. Meta, $2.50 for B2B, not too bad. And then we have cost per CPM, let's see here, then CPL, $40 to $65, okay? Cheapest reach into your ICP's personal feeds. We have TikTok, not too bad. And then we have X, good old X right there, cheap CPMs, okay, versus LinkedIn. And we have Reddit ads, which could work actually really well. Strong for dev, agent builder, ICP. We have Google search, okay, and then CPLs there, Dream Data, first touch, return on ad spend, and non-brand B2B. Okay, so these are really kind of an exploratory strategy as far as doing our first paid campaigns. Key sources. So I went after Honeystack, okay, did the B2B house, did a bunch of these as far as sources. Minimum viable monthly test budget. So if you're not quite sure how much you should spend, well, this could actually do a lot of good research to show like, hey, this is like the budget you're looking at. You should set aside a particular, ad spend for a certain cap and go from there. So LinkedIn, it's basically recommended that we have 2 to 5K minimum for a real test. And the biggest thing here is just like cold email. You want to set aside and do enough volume in order to actually have good usable data. This is no different with paid ads, right? So we have Meta, running 3K is workable for a sign-up objective. Rule of thumb for Facebook ads testing budget. So each test ad set can get 1 to 2 conversations per day. Then we have Reddit and TikTok and Google search. Good deal. Creative testing in the Andromedia ASC area. Okay, this works. Creative is 70-80% of performance. So this is what we're talking about here. Broad targeting plus advantage placements. Okay, and then we have bidding. That's a whole nother thing. Cadence. Okay, ad formats that work for Dev, AI, PLG, SaaS now. And by the way, PLG is product-led growth, basically meaning that you're selling a product, right? There's a lot of different sales motions there. Screen recording product demos, okay. Founder face, talking head, ugly static, okay. Comparable dev tools, early acquisitions, mostly not paid. Bottom line, all right. Cheapest meaningful signal. Meta, okay, is going to be probably our best. LinkedIn, start with the thought leader ads off founder posts, all right. Google search, only a small exact match, count the alternative. Expect $30 to $80 per waitlist sign up on Meta, okay. Reddit. And the research is back with solid numbers. So it just basically did a whole thorough analysis in a few minutes. So with that said, we're going to see what that looks like. Okay, great. So now based on your recommended feedback, we will do a cold outreach channel. We will also do the organic posts as well as everything that we need to do. For the time being though, what I'd like you to do is to draft up several ad copy of what that potentially could look like. Let's also generate this in such a way in an HTML or a localized canvas. So that way it could actually be visualized on what that potentially could look like across the various platforms. So that way I could see what that would actually render to be. If possible, please make sure it is accurate as possible, and both with the creative ad copy as well as the image. And we want to at least get an initial draft so that way we can consider what we need to do on each individual platform. I think you are right when it comes to X and Reddit, and Meta is probably one of the best ones as well. So please draft up potential ad copy for reviewing all of this so we can see what we need to do next. And we're all done. So wave 1 ad drafts are ready for 2 forms. Okay, so the visual preview, which it actually came up with its own artifact, which we'll review here in a second. All 11 variants rendered inside of a native platform Chrome. Facebook feed card with sponsored header and CTA, Instagram square placement, Reddit promoted post, X promoted posts on dark, LinkedIn founder post with static creatives drawn exactly as they would ship. The yellow 700 clicks, okay, it talks about details there. Meta, Reddit, okay. All copy follows the email skill, bans, no small talk, no fluff, no M dashes, never implies the booker installs anything, and frames everything as early access with the feedback. So here's the key thing is we have all of the context, right? Context and capability. So we already have a lot of this stuff that we already leverage. So think of it like I said, if you have a CMO, a chief marketing officer, that's basically saying like, hey, look, this is what our business is. We want to look at running potential ads. What is the cost per click? What's the cost per lead? Things like that. We want to be able to know what budget we want to set aside. So let's go ahead and see what this actually looks like. So if you see right here, we have Claude.ai/code. This is an artifact, which it actually just rendered automatically. It said, here you go, right? So we have paid media wave 1, draft for review. So we have ad previews across Meta, Reddit, X, and LinkedIn. Okay. 11 launch candidates rendered at each platform's native Chrome. Okay. So we have Meta right here. So this is what it would look like. That's good stuff. Okay. So this is just an initial draft, but you can see it actually looks like what it would look like, right, for a review. Then we have watch a buyer's AI book a meeting, no date picker, no site. They ask their agent, checks your real availability. They pick a time, done. And then you can see right here, this is all great. Okay. Captions on. Reminder, texts don't fix ghosted slots. They just shift for a different day. The fix is removing a click-through step, okay? So some of the stuff we can actually revise, things like that, but we can say old way, link, day picker, maybe booked. New way, chat booked. That's good stuff. Old way, okay? All right, then we have Instagram feed. Pretty simple, okay? Buyers, things like that. We have Reddit. So this is great. We have votes, things like that. So we can really start to visualize and see what that looks like. And then we have X. All right. And then we have Calendly, shipped K. Every AI assistant, you can do this. Then we have LinkedIn, thought leader ad. We watch hundreds of clicks land on demo links and turn into 3 book calls, not because the product was wrong, stuff like that. So you can see right here, this is just wave 1 of the possibilities of being able to really hone in on some good copy. And we can come up with a whole lot more variants too. But then what you would say is, okay, Meta 2 is approved. Let's go ahead and go down the rabbit hole of basically generating it. You would generate the actual video itself. As for next steps, obviously you'd want to select your winning copy, run multiple versions, okay? And then again, even Facebook has a CLI tool. So similar to our Instantly CLI, you can install it, do everything that you need to actually deploy it, and then you can actually just launch the campaigns right from Claude Code. But we're going to save that for another time. This is just a high level overview of the possibilities of actually launching Claude Code to actually do your campaigns. Up until now, we've been building individual tools, a research engine, a lead builder, an email writer, landing pages, ad copy. Each one of these is powerful on its own, but the thing that turns this from cool AI tricks into an actual business system is connecting them together and giving them the whole spine, connecting the dots. So let me show you what a full machine really looks like. So you can see here that we are obviously in a brand new Claude Code instance here, right? And we have ad copy. The thing is we have everything here as far as our chats, and then we have our code base. So you see here we have skills, we have leads, okay, we have CSVs, we have marketing. This is effectively our code base. And again, this is in a Claude demo, which I initially started with. But what we really need to do is to actually organize this into a way that we can actually track it and also share with the rest of our team as well. So if I were to open up a new chat, one of the biggest things that I recommend you do is sending this entire code base to something like GitHub. So that way each version, no different than software development, could be actually version tracked, and we can actually sync to a repository, kind of like Google Cloud, for example, or Dropbox, except these are more line based where we're actually comparing lines called diffs. And if we actually push any of these, basically to a GitHub repository, then another team member can effectively copy that and work right from the code base where it can execute skills, it can do all or execute scripts and do all sorts of stuff. So what we're going to do first and foremost, and since I did start off as Claude demo, we're going to organize this into a way where the naming convention actually makes sense, so I remember. But number two, we're going to push this to a private repository, and then from there, we're going to stand up our data lake. So from here, let's go ahead and get this going. This project has been built out and evolved into a robust GTM project. So what I'd like to do is to rename this folder from Claude demo over to TopCal GTM. And what we need to do is to set this GitHub repo up privately on B. Charlson so we can sync this to a remote repo. Let's see here. Initialize a main branch so we can get this synced up. Before you do that, rename the folder locally and then get a remote repo going. All right, so what we're going to do is this Claude demo is actually a folder name on my hard drive. So it's going to rename it, in which all of these is going to disappear. So then this agent will actually change directory and work from another directory and finish out with the repo and that kind of stuff. And then we can actually hop to the actual new repository of which we're at. And you can see here, it says I'll rename this folder, initialize a git, and set up the private GitHub under B. Charlson, which is logged in. You can see it's already disappeared. And we'll let this initialize. All right, all set. Here's what happened. Folder renamed from Claude demo over to TopCal GTM. And I recommend, aside from your app, that you rename or name your proper folders so that way either by client or whatever initiative you're trying to do. Basically look at it like a project, right? Git initialized right to main branch and everything committed in a single commit, okay? So anything that is pushed to a remote is called a commit. Let's see, already in place, okay? Private repo created at this repository. So if we were to log in, we can see all of our files are stored right there. And then we didn't make a README, which is not a big deal. But then, sweet, we have it private local. So that way other people are obviously not going to go into your stuff. Project memory migrated. Claude Code's persistent memory is key to the folder path. So I copied 6 memory files, okay? Since the folder is named to, let's see, in this VS Code, you'll want to reopen the workspace from the new location. That's correct. All right, so we're going to go ahead and close that out. And then now we have our brand new instance right here. So now that we did the GitHub, the next thing we're going to want to do is to actually park where we have leads, right? So the one thing that I recommend is actually going to something like Supabase. And if we were to go to supabase.com, really it's just a Postgres database. And for you non-techies, it's basically like CSVs on steroids. I mean, we're talking tables upon tables and rows and columns and all the things. And it's a very scalable solution that is mostly built for databases. And we are basically going to define a schema where it makes sense for us to run scripts and upload data to something like Supabase. So that way we can query it and know exactly what's going on across our whole GTM motion. So we're going to go ahead and open up a new chat. This project is mostly built around GTM for an application called TopCal. And one of the things that we need to set up in order to make sure that this project is scaling appropriately, especially with clean data, and to make sure that we are not writing CSVs and having all sorts of fragmentation when it comes to our data. So I would like to initialize and set up a Supabase project in order to track leads and also define a schema that makes sense for when we have someone reply or convert, etc., as we grow this application. I have not yet created the Supabase project quite yet, but we need to get this set up in such a way where I need you to define the schema through SQL scripts, and we will get this fully initialized, and then I need you to upload the initial leads that we have scraped initially with the proper parameters, so that way we can run this as a headless CRM for agent use. So while this is going, we're actually going to go ahead and initialize a new project. So this is for the actual application itself. So we're just going to make a new one and we're going to call it Top Cow GTM, wrong business. And this is all fine and dandy. And then we're going to go ahead and create a new project. Oh, let's go ahead and create a new password. All right, we've created our Top Cow GTM project. So the status is currently initializing, and let's check on our agent here to see if it's going. So we are still working here. Perfect. And we're going to see where that goes. All right. So the headless CRM is built and fully validated. The only thing left needs you. Creating a Supabase project itself. I have no Supabase credentials. Well, we know that. And we have a SQL migration script, which will run in a second. So we have leads. 1 row per person. Email as natural key plus a source key. So even parked no email leads import impotently. Carries firmographics, the schedule install signal, the instantly merge variable, and a lifecycle enum. This is good. So we have staged, everything like that. Plus parked, excluded, held for review, bounced, unsubscribed, do not contact, that kind of thing. Campaigns, campaign leads, lead event. We have messages, tests. So these are things like everything that you would have in a Salesforce or HubSpot CRM, effectively. And then we have views for agents, reporting. So we have lead timeline, open task, deal pipeline, that kind of thing. Then we have impotent initial merging, verified JSON-L. Validation. Let's see here. Since the project doesn't exist, create a project. Okay, let's go ahead and go here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and connect it. So we are going to, let's see here. So we have general. We have the project ID, which we're going to go ahead and feed here. Please create the .env with all of the variables, and I will paste them in. Here's the project ID. We're going to go to API keys, and then we have publishable key, I should say. A publishable key variable, and the service key, service secret key. And if we hop over to here and we click on .env once again, cool. All right, so now you can see project ID, it just updated it. So now we have the secret key. And we're going to go ahead and copy the publishable key right there. And then we have the secret key. Perfect. And we have it right there. All right. Keys are in, verifying connectivity, then applying the schema. So it's going to go ahead and apply the schema for us. And if we were to even go in here and we went to table editor, so we will very shortly start seeing that tables will be defined. Another thing too is when you go to SQL editor, a lot of times it'll give you a SQL script in which you want to run that over here. All right, so the secret key works for the data access, okay? But applying the schema can't go through with that key. The Supabase only allows direct database connection. Okay, fastest, which is the SQL editor, which is correct. So we're gonna go and click on this and we're just gonna hit Command A, Command C, and then we're gonna go to the SQL editor, we're gonna hit Command V, Command Enter. And we should see success. There it is. Perfect. And if we go to table editor, we now have all of these tables, right, that are dedicated to exactly what we're looking at. So if I go ahead and say I ran the SQL migration, please check. And now it's going to check to make sure that it's applied. And we'll see what's next. All right, the headless CRM is live and fully loaded. Migration verified. We have all 7 tables and 6 views and the log lead event RPC responding. So we have 33,000 leads, or just over that, 4690 campaign memberships. Okay. I also proved the impotency by rerunning the import, which caught a real bug. Okay. So it looks like it double checked there. The agents work the CRM like this. We log a lifecycle activity through the log lead event, RPC, store email bodies and messages, queue follow-up message in tasks, track revenue and deals, and check suppression list before any future upload. Full usage guide is on the README. One loose end, if you want it, Supabase DB URL is still blank. All right, so yeah, we have the direct connection there, and we'll go ahead and just load that up as the full DB, which you just have to put in your password there. So we'll leave that. Not an emergency kind of situation. Cool. So we now are verifying our actual. So if we go to table editor, we can see again we have all of our tables, and you can see right here we have our leads already fully loaded and good to go. And then we have our campaign funnels, we have our campaign leads, we have our campaigns, which we can track and make sure that everything is good there. So awesome. But next up in our final section is once you do get a reply, or you may have a high ticket offer that's outside of self-serve, like a sign up or a free trial. And that is revolving around closing the deal, right? So in the next section, we're going to go over how to actually create a really compelling and better proposal that is far better than your any typical Notion or your Google Doc. So what we're going to do is we're going to start a brand new proposal system. So I'm actually going to start a brand new instance here. We have a new chat. We're going to take everything that we have in our current repository and we're just going to create a new folder. So with the context of this current project, we are doing a GTM motion primarily around cold email and marketing. Now I want to create a new folder within this code base to actually generate a proposal system in which I can give you a conversation or a recording of basically a sales call or anything like that, that we can easily generate a proposal. And one of the things that I want to do is in the specific example, let's say, for example, we get an enterprise customer and they want to do a large number of seats for our project. And let's say we want to put together a really nice proposal for them to really know and have them feel like we actually made it for them. It's personalized and it's a lot more premium feeling than a typical Google Doc or a Notion doc. Those are great platforms, but what I would like to do is have this hosted in a way that is password protected and also ability to know when something is actually viewed. So that way we can have good tracking on what that actually looks like. Please conduct research. This doesn't need to be super complex. I want this to be a quick turnaround, but also premium feeling. All right, so we're going to kick that off and we're going to see what it comes up with and we'll go from there. All right, so this is where it all comes together again, is the proposal system is built and verified. Here's the rundown. We have research conclusion. Self-hosting wins decisively for your constraints. Vercel's native password protection is $150 per month. Proposal SaaS, we have PandaDoc, Proposify, all within those, right? And then we actually have, let's see, the winning stack is Cloudflare Pages, free, commercial use allowed, plus 30-line password gate and view events log straight into your existing Supabase CRM, which gives you something no SaaS tool does, engaging data sitting next to the lead record. Once research finding shape, okay, what I built, proposals. So we have premium template, editorial single page design, and then we have password gate, all right? Then we have tracking, scaffold script, engagement reader, plus migration script. Things that I need to do. So applying the migration. So the Supabase DB URL is fine. Either paste, okay? So we're going to go ahead and copy all this. And then we're going to paste that into Supabase. Let's see here. How was it? And then create the Cloudflare Pages project. So we're going to go ahead and go into SQL editor and we're going to hit plus, new snippet. We're going to paste this and then hit command enter. And we should see success, no rows returned. That's great. And then from here, we're going to create the Cloudflare Pages project. But before we do that, I do want to actually see what it looks like on localhost. So then we'll get to that. Then the dashboard is set, Supabase, yep, URL, secret, and point to that. After that, transcript to live personalization proposal is about 15 minutes, which it scaffolds, writes it, one Wrangler deploy, and send the link with the password in the mail. In the email body, never in the URL. That's what keeps the tracking honest. That's true. Okay, perfect. So with that said, let's please run a sample proposal so I can see this on localhost while I set up the Cloudflare. And with Cloudflare, they obviously mention and well, they have a lot of different products, which Cloudflare is the goat for a lot of things, right? But so what I'm going to do is I'm actually have Claude walk us through it. So that way, if you go through this, you actually know what each step. So that way we're just not setting it up on a whim. So that way we'll use AI to actually guide us through it, right? All right. So the sample proposal is live on localhost and the whole pipeline checks out. View it here. Okay. So we'll just do Acme demo password right here. So we'll just see what this looks like. This can be entirely different from our one at top of funnel. So we're going to see what this is. Cool. All right. This password is private. So we're going to enter the password there. Also meetings that book themselves, scheduling. Okay. All right. So prepared for, prepared by, and where you are. So we have this, okay, a quote, what we propose, remove a human from the loop. Top Cow is a calendar built for humans and agents. For Acme, that means reply to meeting gap closes from days to the length of a chat message in 3 ways. All right, so we have this. Rollout, live in 4 weeks, not quarters. 20 seat SDR pilot, wire, okay. And then pricing for this. TopCal private preview partner plan. All right, onboarding. So we'll go for free here. Okay, so it's quoting 21.6. Cool. The questions your IT team asked. Okay, calendar access for Google OAuth. What next steps? Book the kickoff. So if we were to click book the kickoff, it would go ideally to a scheduling agent, right? So yeah, that's very simple, very good. And here we are, just a custom. We can add like a logo. We can do all sorts of things. In fact, you can even add a call to action even here. And then better yet, we have full control over everything there, right? To housekeeping, I created proposal, okay, with your Supabase key, so local functions and log events, and we can store the proposals in our Supabase as well. This looks perfect. Okay, so from here, what do we need to do next in order to set this up? If we need to set up Cloudflare, I need you to walk me through all of the steps here so we can make sure that we have pages all set up as well. In other words, another thing too is we could actually have this hosted on our own, which is with Vercel, but going with Cloudflare, I would like to move with your recommendation just to make sure that the URL is also clean as possible as well. So the reason I clarify that is because, for example, with our proposal system, we have a system to where we are basically, it's go.topofunnel.com, but there's moments where we'll have situations where we'll push it and it's password protected, but sometimes you want to do Cloudflare as well. So you just never know. All right. So when we're moving through the Cloudflare registration, basically I like to have Claude code drive as much as possible. So that way it avoids clicks and types and all that stuff. So what it actually did is I logged into my existing Cloudflare account and it basically is authorizing already. It's using Wrangler. So we're going to go ahead and authorize that. Build with your favorite AI agent. Very good. All right. So we're going to connected it. So now it's good to go. So we're going to let this cook. All right. So it's saying which URL does proposal live on? So this binds to the domain and the page's project provisions and SSL cert. So yes, we do want to do proposals.topcal.ai as I mentioned before. It just looks a lot more cleaner. Okay, we could do on another thing right here. But what we're going to do for the purpose of this use case, because this involves actually adding DNS, so we're going to save that for another time. But for the use of this, you can see here that we have basically a beautiful proposal system, right? And we can really tailor it to your brand. Like I said, you can add your client logos, you can add your logo, and really make it yours. So you're not going to find for anything, for Google Docs and Notion, things like that. All right, here's where everything stands while you add that CNAME. So again, you just need to go into your DNS settings wherever you have that part, and then just add the CNAME so that way it properly works there. So done and verified in production, pages project TopCal proposals created and deployed. The sample is live right now. So if we go to TopCal proposals and we go right here, we can actually see that, and then we'll just go ahead and enter the password. We can see right here, this is a live on the internet, and we'll go from there. So if you want to peek before DNS lands, okay, this will just basically redirect to what I mentioned before. All three secrets, okay, is there. Full gate tested against production, lock screen, wrong password rejected, correct password set cookie, okay, and proposals.topcal.ai registered on the pages project. Once the domain is live, the full workflow for a real deal is just give me the call transcript, I scaffold, write, and deploy. You send, and we're good to go, right? So that's really all it is for the proposal system. So with that, look at what we've built. A research engine that understands your market better than most consultants, a lead builder that finds and qualifies people automatically, outreach that sounds human and gets replies. We have landing pages, ad copy, a full connected machine, tracked in GitHub and Supabase. Skills that run it all on command, and a proposal system to help you close. All of it with Claude code. Most of it built from scratch, right here, right in front of you. This isn't the future of sales and marketing. This is right now. If you've reached up to this point, I really appreciate you watching. I hope you've learned some ways that you can automatically enhance your business with the tools that we went through today. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.